Alright folks, welcome back. Today we're going to be working on the Kubota. It's the B2601. Just hit the 50-hour mark on it, or 52 hours or so, so it's due for its initial break-in service. I got to do it here. We're out in the driveway. Thought I'd bring it along. So I had a Kubota BX22. Had that since '03, and then I sold that one last year, and then I bought this little guy late last year. So here we are. So we're going to go right by the book. We're going to look in here. It gives you your 50-mile service interval. Basically a couple filters. Training filter, hydraulic filter, engine oil filter, engine oil. We're going to go through and do a few checks. Lube anything that needs to be lubed. Nothing else on the second page. We're probably just going to go right through it, check all the fluids, blow out any screens, have a little look at some stuff. And that's it. One advice I can give you guys is if you're ever buying a piece of equipment, whether it's used or new, always get the service manuals. You know, if you got to, pay extra to get service manuals, these things are worth their weight in gold later on. And then if you can, it's always an awesome idea to get a parts illustration book too, because later on, 15, 20 years from now, those part numbers can be super valuable. So that's the advice I could give you. I went to my local Kubota dealer. Got us a 50-hour kit. They put it together for me. So it's everything I need and nothing that I don't. We're going to pop the hood. And we're going to take these side panels off here. I think these little suckers just lift off. Yes, sir. So we'll take this one off and get the one on the other side. Lift that one off. It's amazing how many bugs that thing chowders up. They're plastered all over here. So it's got your classic double sump drain plugs under here. What are we looking at here? Probably 15? Let's see. No, sir. Whoa! Almost got you. 14 millimeters. We'll grab a ratchet here. It's got a little paint on there, so we're going to have to kind of push them past. Get that one cracked loose, and then we'll go up here on this one. There we go. Look at that one cracked loose. Get our socket back. Look at an awful lot of paint on those suckers. Alright, now those are loose. I'm going to move you. We're going to put a pan under here so we can be environmentally responsible. Let's see here. Just having a look up here. There should be a washer, I would imagine. It's probably stuck to the oil pan, it looks like. Looks like a copper washer there. So we'll drop that one out. We'll get this guy here. I didn't take the oil cap off, so that's why it's glugging. Looks like the washer on this one is also sticking to the pan. These are long-winded little guys. There we go. Let her glug away. There, that'll keep it from glugging. Alright, next we're going to peel off the oil filter here. That sucker sits pretty tight to that lower hose, doesn't it? Huh, actually pressed right against it. There's a bracket there. Well, I'll be. Wonder if that'll ever be a problem. So we'll get this little guy cracked loose. We'll move our pan over to try to catch some of it. I imagine it's going to make a mess. Put that right in our drain pan. We'll go get our new filter. Make sure everything looks clean here, and it does. No real need to wipe the old oil off if you don't want to. I mean, there's no debris or anything in there. You've got to put a little lube on the O-ring anyways. Some people get overly excited about that. So we're going to wipe this. So it really hits that hose pretty hard. So you're going to want to be super careful not to cross-thread this little guy, because you've got to hold it into that hose a little bit. Well, you can see it's streaking there. You got to hold it in there pretty snug to get it started. That's interesting. So we're going to let her touch and then tighten it down. Plus 3/5 of 1 turn, it says. And I just tighten them until they're snug. You just don't want the little guy falling off. Trust me. We'll take our hanky and wipe up our oil. Best we can get it. If you can't get it all, bust out the brake parts cleaner. Looks good. Alright, now that she's done dripping, we're going to put our drain plugs back in here. Make sure you know where your copper washers are. Ours are still stuck to the pan here. Get this little guy spun up in there. My hands are too slippery, I can't grab a hold of that sucker. So I have to go the old-fashioned way. Alright, go ahead and just snug those up gingerly. I'll grab something, we'll clean the drain plugs off there. I found a funnel with the least amount of cobwebs, mouse poop, and dust in it. Cleaned it out. I'll take the fill cap off. My funnel might be too big. Yes sir. Not gonna happen. Oh yeah, first try. Hopefully it doesn't fling back out at us. We're going to be using some of the Kubota, the 15 Dub 40. Usually a big shell rotella guy, but I figured since it's under warranty, we'll just stick with this just in case it explodes. 3.3 quarts according to service data. We got a 1 gallon jug here, so almost all of it. That feels like about 3 point something. There is a mark on the side of the jug, but that should be enough to start it. And we can check it and adjust as necessary. So we'll pull that out. And grab the lid. We'll fire this little guy up. So during the break-in process, this thing did use some oil. Not quite half a quart, but almost. So not unusual with brand new diesel engines till the rings seat in from the burned oil initially. So we're just about halfway. We're right in the middle there. I don't know what you guys can see, but that's where we're at, right in between there and there. Right between the two dots. So I'm going to take and check it one more time. Make sure I'm not cray-cray. No, it's right in the middle. And we're going to top her up a little bit here, and I'll get that right up to the full mark. The thing we're going to do while we're right here is we're going to have a little gander at the air filter. Should have another hasp on it, I imagine. Yep, down here. Oh, you got to pull it up out of there to get to it. This isn't part of the 50-hour service, but I wanted to make sure there wasn't a lot of junk in here. And honestly, primarily 90% of what I do with this is mow grass. And it's super dusty. Yeah, this thing's pretty dusty. I'm going to take and get a rag. We're going to knock the dust out of here. I'm just going to lightly blow across this with a blow nozzle, and we'll call it good. That looks good. So we're going to take our air filter here. We're going to pull out the inner element, which is just a screen that keeps out, like, you know, rock chunks and caterpillars, things like that. And then this little guy, I'm just going to bang it off here. And if you're going to use a blow nozzle, don't be a ding-dong. A lot of people will highly advise against this. Blast you straight in. I just blow across it lightly, like so. Kind of creates a venturi on the top of it and, you know, sucks the dirt out of it, so to speak. We'll come after it this way. Getting right after the fibers on it, or, you know, blasting it heavy from the inside, you could break the fibers in it and, you know, create a non-filtering situation. So, like I say, lightly across the top. Never seen it hurt anything. Stick our first filter in there. Stick our second one in there. Then we'll look around for the cap. It's right here. Wipe the junk out of it. Hopefully the wind's not too bad in the mic there. Snap that back in where it belongs. Right down there. Let's see, what else are we going to do while we're over here? We're going to check the oil in our front axle here. I believe this uses the same fluid as the rear diff. Well, not the rear diff, but like the hydrostat and the transmission. I'll use that Kubota, what do they call it, DST2, I don't know, hydrostatic fluid. Alright, and we are right between the low and the full mark, so we're going to leave that alone. I'd have to look in the book to see what it uses exactly. And the other thing we're going to do that's not part of the 50-hour service is we're going to change the fuel filter. Personal preference, you don't have to do this. I'm going to do it though. I don't know if we got enough lead in our pencil just to spin that thing off. They're plastic, so you kind of got to be careful. There we go. Should be able to just grip it. I don't know if it's got a fuel shut off on it or not. We probably should look, right? Let's see if it quits peeing or not. Doesn't look like it's gonna. Let's just check in service data, see if there's a fuel shut off on it. I don't see one right out of the bottom of the tank. She's just gonna go full gravity on us. Let me just double check here, folks. I don't see a shut off. So let's prepare our parts and pieces here. And this is it. This is our little fuel filter. Not supposed to be changed until 500 hours. And I think they state in the book to clean it. Which I never even bothered looking at that process. Who cleans their paper element fuel filter? Alright. So there's that. I don't know. So I'll make sure there's no O-ring or anything up in here. Down, drain it out. There is an O-ring, however, I see in the very top of the fuel filter. There's one on the housing, of course. And this new fuel filter does not come with it, so we have to transfer that. So let's go like this. Let me go get a pick here for us. First thing we're gonna save this O-ring. We're gonna set it right here. And we're going to get our filter out. I'm just going to stick the pick in there. I'm going to say hopefully she'll come right out. And there it is. And there's a bit of sediment sitting in the bottom of the bowl here, so I'm going to take and just dump that out. And that looks relatively clean. We're going to grab our new filter. It has alignment pins on it, so there's 4 notches in the fuel filter itself, and then there's, you know, the 4 notches in the cup here, so you do have to line it up with those. We'll stick that down in. We will stick our O-ring back on there, and then we still need to get the O-ring, the center O-ring out here. Here's this guy. There we go. So we've got our O-ring. And we're going to just stick her right back down in here where she belongs. They have fuel on them, so that'll work as a lubricant. Can't get her started here. Must be there's a shut-off built into this, maybe. No, there can't be. Oh yeah, there is. There's a shut-off, so when we push the lever up in here, it'll flow fuel. So it's going to flow fuel as soon as we start trying to put this on. That's a crafty little design. We'll torque that to factory specs just like that. Get something to wipe my patties on. Got this rag right here. Wipe this so off. We'll turn the key on. I don't think this thing has an electric fuel pump. Looks like a mechanical pump here. Right, yeah, that would be a mechanical fuel pump. Yeah, so key on, I don't hear anything running, so gravity fed into the bowl and then mechanical pump here. So let's see, we're going to fire it up. We've already got oil pressure because we've already ran it, so we're going to fire it up and then we're just going to bump the idle up a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't stall on us to get sucked full of air. Yeah, so the solenoid here is going to be our fuel shutoff solenoid right here on the back of the injection pump. So fuel pump, shutoff solenoid, filter, and then this must be our hydraulic pump here for the hydraulics, because I think the hydraulics and the hydrostat are separate on this one. Speaking of, we've got filters for those two items, hydraulic oil filter and a hydrostat filter, so let's find those little guys and we'll get them swapped out also. So the first one we'll get after is the hydraulic oil filter. That should be specified here. See if we can crack this sucker loose. Oh, not too bad. They both run off the same reservoir. And then the hydrostat filter sits over here. So this one here should be for the hydraulics. That sucker's losing a lot of oil. Get the filter here. Only got an extra gallon. Gotta get the plastic off this thing. Or we're gonna be losing more than a gallon. Basically, we're changing some of the hydraulic oil. It's supposed to be just a filter change. Hopefully we've got enough hydrostat fluid to fill it back up, because it's going to take quite a bit. After I wipe off my patties, we'll tighten that one up. But while we're right here, stick our knife to this. I would have had my filter better prepared for that. We're going to get out the hydrostat filter here. Comes in a big old bag. Alright, we're going to have this one ready. Let's see if we can reach under here a little bit further. There we go. Let's see here. this one's not as bad. Stick that down in there. Spin her on, get our O-ring all lubed up there. Okay. Let me go grab a rag and we'll snug those up. Well, let's tight as that one will go. Okay. That's it on that little fella. So both those are hand tight. Now we've got to get up and dump a bunch of fluid in it. Probably the majority of that gallon. Pull off our fill plug here. Set that where we won't lose it. Shouldn't be anything on the stick right now. Negative, Ghost Rider. We got the genuine Kubota. It's the UDT2 fluid. I think that means Universal Drivetrain Part 2. We'll crack this open. Get the lid peeled off. Make sure you clean out your funnel. And hopefully we have enough. Yeah, that's better part of a gallon. That's probably 3.5 quarts anyways. Stick this up here, see where we're at. We're not there yet, folks. We'll dump the remaining gallon in. You see, we'll probably end up having to go get some more. Nope, nothing yet. Have to go digging in the archives. Lucky for me, we've got some more. So that'll be a lesson to you. Either be quick with your filter or plan on all your fluid coming out. If I'd have known, I'd have been a little quicker. Let's see where we're at here. Still nothing. Hopefully this is helpful to somebody. I probably should have watched the YouTube video or read the directions. Hey, we're on the stick. Look at us go. We're about halfway. Yeah, we're halfway up on the stick, almost to the full mark, but let's fire it up here. Let it run for a bit, let our filters get filled up. Alright, we're right at the very bottom, so I'm going to put in just a tiny bit more. I do have to mow on today, so when I get done using it, I'll double check it, but we're just going to put in a little bit more and we're going to call it good. I don't want to fill it full to the tippy top because I don't know how much fluid is in the backhoe and in the loader. When you put the loader on, you know, it's going to depend on where your hydraulic cylinders are on those items, if you've got them all squeezed out or not. So we're going to err on the side of caution. We're just going to keep her in the safe mark, but a little bit right there in the middle. So we're just about in the middle. It's really difficult to see here. Just double check. Yes, sir. So we're right smack in the middle. So we're going to leave it at that. Of course, I assume it expands a little bit with temperature also. Grab our oil out of here. Now, greasing the machine's pretty easy. There's only 3 grease fittings. You got one here, one that goes on your top link, so I don't have it on here right now, or your Johnson bar, whatever you want to call it. And then the other one is on your brake pedal pivot, which is underneath. And that is, where is she? Well, let's see if I can get you a good look at it. It's right there. So it's on your brake pedal pivot. I've got the parking brake on, so I can't wiggle it for you, but that's it. That's all there is to greasing the tractor itself. Now obviously if you have a loader on it or a backhoe or your mower deck, there's a lot more grease fittings there, but this is just on the tractor itself. We're going to do a quick tire pressure check. These are running the 23/850 12s. They're just a 4-ply. Max PSI on these is 35. Service data says to run these at 23. But I'm running the loader on the front, so I run them a little bit higher, up more towards the max. So these are at 35. If you're not using a loader, you're not using a loader a lot, and you want maximum traction, I would definitely air them down to the recommended spec. Let's go check the back tires. So these are your classic 12. They're 16.5. They're 6-ply, R4 tread. We're going to roll it ahead here a little bit. Get a block of wood so she doesn't roll away. We want our valve stem up at the top. These tires are loaded. We've got rim guard in them. Regardless, we're using a calcium liquid style valve stem tool. You can get these babies at Napa, not valve stem tool. Tire pressure gauge. It can get kind of messy. If you don't have one of these tire pressure gauges that can withstand liquid, you're going to ruin it, and this could make a mess too. Sometimes what I like to do, get your stem at the top, give her a little juice here, kind of blow some of that out if you can. It's messy either way. Just gotta fiddle with it here. Where are we at? Just got about 30 in there. Perfect. Ah, what a mess. Beautiful. Easy. So that was pretty messy. Let me give you a little word of advice too on the tires there. If your tires are loaded, they're a little bit low on air, remember that 75 to 80% of that tire is liquid. So when you're putting air into it, even with your stem at the top, your liquid level is still there, and it's going to blow up the tire very, very quickly. So just little psh, 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 little baby squirts. Don't just stick your hose on there, wait a minute and come back. The difficult thing to do is to let air out of the tire, because if the fluid level is up at the level of your valve stem, when you go to let air out, you're only going to let liquid out, thereby not really reducing the air pressure in the tire, because you're not reducing, you'd have to reduce the volume of liquid down to let air out, if that makes sense. It will if you overfill it, trust me. If you overfill it by a lot, you're going to either have to tip your machine up on its side to get the liquid away from the stem, or take your tire off, lay it down, but they can be pretty stout. So this is the engine screen, just blowing that off. There is some stuff in the front of my radiator. I'm going to blow that off. Side covers back on it. I think that's it, folks. We'll just give her some other visual inspections here. Make sure our battery cables aren't growing any crusties. Make sure the coolant's full. I already did look in on the belt here, but we'll give our belt a little wiggle, make sure she feels tight. Runs the water pump in the alternator there. And that's about it. So that's pretty well it, folks, for the 50-hour service. Everything we did is what we should have done, minus the fuel filter. I guess that would be the only thing that really wasn't, like, you know, in the book, I guess, for the 50-hour. Just personal preference. Same thing with the air filter and checking the tires stuff. That wasn't in there, but that's just kind of some daily things you should do. Particularly, like I say, I use this primarily 90% of the time for mowing, so it's always, you know, pretty dusty environment, so we kind of keep track of that. And then the fuel filter, I personally think that should be done at the first 50 hours. Your injection pump and fuel pump and, you know, assembly goo, you know, all that stuff's in there for the first, you know, first go round. So I personally would say I would add that to my list, but I'm no expert. And if you're not comfortable working on your own equipment or doing things, obviously take it in to the shop and don't listen to some ding dong on YouTube. I wouldn't advise that. Get a book, get comfortable with it, you know, do it yourself, or, you know, take it in, let them do it for you. But you should be at least familiar enough with your machine to be able to check your fluids and, you know, your tire pressures and just some really basic stuff. This is really basic stuff, folks. And that's it. Gotta get mowing. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.